This is from Yano on Twitter, Jason Yanowitz, and I wanted to read it aloud because I wanted there to be a place where we could listen to it. This is taken from an Italian citizen, someone in Italy. Okay? To the rest of the world, you have no idea what is coming. As I think everybody knows, Italy is on quarantine because of the coronavirus outbreak. This situation is bad, but what's worse is seeing the rest of the world behaving as if it isn't going to happen to them. We know what you're thinking because we were in your place too. Let's see how things developed. Stage one, you know that coronavirus exists, and the first cases begin to appear in your country. Well, nothing to worry about. It's just a bad flu. I'm not 75 years old. What could possibly happen to me? I'm safe. Everybody's overreacting. What's the need to go out with masks and stock toilet paper? I'm going to live my life as usual. There's no need to freak out. Stage two, the number of cases begin to be significant. They declare a red zone and quarantine one or two small cities where they found the first cases and a lot of people were infected. That was February 22nd. Well, that's sad and somewhat worrisome, but they're taking care of it, so there's nothing to panic about. There are some deaths, but they're all old people, so the media is just creating panic for views. How shameful. People lead their life as usual. I'm not going to stop going out and meeting my friends, am I? It's not going to get me. Everybody's fine here. Stage three. The number of cases is rapidly going up. They almost doubled in a day. There's more deaths. They declare red zones and quarantine the 4 regions where the majority of cases are registered. That was on March 7th. So that's just in 10 days. In Italy, 25% of the country is under quarantine. Schools and universities are closed in these areas, but bars, workplaces, restaurants, and so on are still open. The decree gets released by some newspaper before it should, so around 10,000 people from the red zone escape from the area that same night to return to their homes in the rest of Italy. Most of the population of the remaining 75% of Italy still does what it always does. They still don't realize the seriousness of the situation. Everywhere you turn, people advise you to wash your hands and limit going out, and large groups are forbidden. Every 5 minutes on TV, they remind you of these rules, but still, it hasn't settled in people's minds. Stage 4. The number of cases is heavily increasing. Schools and universities are closed everywhere for at least a month. It's a national health emergency. Hospitals are at capacity. Entire units are cleared to make space for coronavirus patients. There aren't enough doctors and nurses. They're calling retired ones and those in their last 2 years of universities to come back. There's no shifts anymore. Just work as much as you can. Not enough places for everyone. At this point, it's like being at war. Doctors have to choose who to treat based on their survival chance. That means the elderly and trauma stroke patients can't get treated because corona cases have priority. There's not enough resources for everybody, so they have to be distributed for best outcome. I wish I was joking, but it's literally what has happened. There's not enough resources for everybody, so they have to be distributed for the best outcome. People have died because there wasn't any more space. I have a doctor friend who called me devastated because he had to let 3 people die that day. Nurses crying because they see people dying and can't do anything aside from offering some oxygen. A friend's relative died yesterday of corona because they couldn't treat him. It's chaos. The system is collapsing. Coronavirus and the crisis it's provoking is all you hear about everywhere. Stage 5. Remember the 10,000 idiots who ran from the red zone to the rest of Italy? Well, now the entire country has to be declared under quarantine. That was March 9th. Just 1 week later. The goal is to delay the spreading of the virus as much as possible. People can go to work, do grocery shopping, go to the pharmacy, and all businesses are still open because otherwise the economy would collapse. It already is. But you can't move from your commune unless you have a valid reason. Now there's fear. You see a lot of people with masks and gloves around, but there are still people who think that they're invincible, who go to restaurants in large groups, hang out with friends to drink, and so on. Next step, stage 6. 2 days later, it's announced that most businesses are closed. 2 days later, bars, restaurants, shopping centers, all kinds of shops, etc. Everything except supermarkets and pharmacies. You can move around only if you have certification with you. The certification is an official document where you declare your name, where you're coming from, where you're going, and what for. There are a lot of police checkpoints. If you're found outside without a valid reason, you risk a fine of up to 206 euros. If you're a known patient, you risk from 1 to 12 years of jail for homicide. Final thoughts. That's what the situation is today, as of March 12th. Keep in mind that it all happened in around 2 weeks, 5 days from stage 3 to today. The rest of the world, apart from Italy, China, and Korea, is just now beginning to reach other stages. So let me tell you this, you have no idea what's coming to get you. I know because 2 weeks I was the one who had no idea and thought it wasn't bad. But it is. And not because the virus alone is particularly dangerous or deadly, but for all the consequences it brings. It's hard to see all these countries act like not coming and not taking the precautions that are necessary for the well-being of its citizens while they still can. Please, if you are reading this, try to act in everybody's best interest. This problem isn't going to solve itself by ignoring it. Just wondering how many undiscovered cases there might be in the United States of America alone is scary. And they're in for big, big trouble because of how their country is run. Our government, for once, did a good job, I must say. The actions taken were drastic but necessary. And this may be the only way to limit the spreading. It's working in China, so we hope it will work here too. It's already working in some of the first red zones, which were quarantined before everybody else. They're taking measures to protect us citizens, such as probably suspending mortgage payments for next month, helping for shop owners who were obligated to close, and so on. I realize that these takes are really difficult, if not impossible, to take in some countries. And it's really worrying to think about what it could mean on a global scale. I wonder if this pandemic will be a turning point in our society. A warning from Italy.